Do your hips always feel tight? Posture off? Feel like your groin is one step away from a pull? Here are 4 exercises that you can work into your mobility days, your warm-up, your cool-down for your adductors to make sure that they are appropriately warmed up and open to allow adequate recovery, both just for the day-to-day activities and those compound lifts. Let's take a look. First off, we have the seated butterfly stretch. This is going to be a good stretch for the short adductors. We're going to start off seated on the floor for the butterfly stretch. We're going to be in a position where the bottoms of our feet will be placed together as close as we can have that. The knees are going to just fall outwards towards the side. We can use our hands to position those legs as close as that we can. We're just doing this to feel that kind of slight stretch, nothing to the point of discomfort. From this position, we're starting off tall, then I'm going to be able to get into a little bit more of a lean into this position here. I can push my feet together. I can use the weight of my forearms and elbows to splay my legs and get a little bit further down into that movement. As I do that, I'll get the separation in between my feet. That's going to be okay. We're just on that lateral edge of the shoes here. Holding for anywhere that you can, 10 seconds, upwards of 30, 60 seconds. This one can be a little bit more intense. If it's hard to apply that outward pressure down with the hands, you can also just have your arms there, not applying pressure, and trying to think about closing your legs against the weight of your own hands as you're coming in here. Not letting yourself come to this position, but just pushing against your own hands. Breathing for a few seconds and then able to try to drop down a little bit lower. We can actively think about trying to push the knees down towards the floor. There's a lot of room to kind of explore with this one. Last alternative could be, hey, I can't apply pressure down here. You can bring a sandbag or any kind of other weight. Some light dumbbells, kettlebells can be positioned on either ends of your legs to just provide that pressure to pull yourself down a little bit lower as well. And then just extend the legs one at a time to get out of that position. The half kneeling adductor rock back. It's a great stretch for the long adductors. We can start off in a position either tall kneeling or half kneeling. I can walk my hands forward. The positioning for this one is going to be key. I'm onto my left knee. I want to be in a position where I can get a straight line here from the left knee to the right heel. To feel those adductors more, I need to make sure that my toes are pointed forwards and I'm grabbing the ground with the toes. It can be hard to just maintain this position statically. So we can just hold this statically. We can rock back to feel that stretch even deeper. I can get a deeper stretch if I'm onto the top of my foot for that back leg and not bridged onto the toes. So I'll go down on the other side. I can push back and hold them as tallest position here. To feel it even more, I can go hands unsupported and hold in that lowest position as well. Alternatively, I can move into some rock backs, either using that back foot on the toes or using the hands to walk myself forward and backward. If we're walking ourselves forward and backward, somewhere between 10 to 15 repetitions if we're holding it statically, anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds to maintain this position. The lateral split squat can be a great approach for both static and dynamic. You can use it as part of your warm-up, use it as part of your cool down. A ton of different options with how we set this up. We're starting off standing. We can position ourselves outside of shoulder width, maybe 1.5 times outside of what our shoulder width would be. Feet are going to be angled out at the toes just to open up the hips a little bit more, allow us to sit off a little bit deeper. One of the most important things would be to still kind of move back into a hinge, into a squat, so that we're still getting the butt and the hips back as we would for a squat and not just shift off laterally here. That's a lot of stress on the knees. So I want to be in a position where we're still being able to sit down and back. We can use supports for the rings, but the TRX as well will be great options. We can also load into a squat rack or anything that'll just support our body weight. Something that we can just hang on to and just hold from more of a static position if it's hard to get into this position. If we're going body weight, we're starting in that same slight hinge just to unlock the butt and the hips, and we're sitting down and back into this position. So now let's look similar into more of a loaded option as our half kneeling adductor stretch there. So my left leg is long here. I'm locked at the knee. My toes are grabbing the ground. We're sitting down and back here. I can hold this statically. I can come back up, push back off with that right leg. We're back into that tall straddle position. I can hold that position a little bit more statically. If we're doing that, we may want that additional support for those rings, the TRX, the rack, anything that we have available for us to hold on to. If we're going a little more dynamic, we can still sit down and back. I can come up into my tall straddle. I can alternate sides. I can make it a little bit more hamstring focused and a little bit more challenging to keep my hips in a flat plane and push off and just alternate side to side. Is a great option. Something a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more ballistic. I can just step in and step out every single time as well. Next up, we have the frog stretch, the last of the 4 stretches. This will be great for both the short and the long adductors. A couple different setup options. You may want to have some yoga blocks, some books, or something to prop yourself and support your body weight as you need to on hand. I'm starting off in a tabletop position, hands under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. If it's hard to get into this position, I can bring in the blocks already. I can position the knees further than hip width apart. It'll be a little bit more intense, or I start hip width apart and I'm just turning out my feet from there. As I'm able to, try to walk out the knees a little bit more and still have the feet in that turned out position. Different ways, again, on how we make this more intense, similar to the adductor rock back. I can hold this position statically. I can try and walk the blocks in and stay tall. As I do that, my hips and pelvis are shifting towards the heels, and I can feel a good stretch into the adductors, kind of wrapping around into the glutes as well. Holding this position statically, again, could be more intense. You may want to scale it 10 seconds, upwards of 30, 60 seconds. A little more dynamic. We have a couple options. I can come down onto my hands, onto the forearms, blocks or no blocks, and I can push the hips back towards the heels. I'm using my arms to be able to push back and pull my body weight back in. If it's hard to come down onto the arms, we got those yoga blocks or whatever can support our body weight as that option to rock back and forth. For those rock backs and forth, anywhere from 10 to 15 repetitions, I can make it more challenging still to stay in more of an anchored position. Again, blocks or hands. And I'm trying to turn that foot in here. So now I'm forcing a lot of internal rotation at the hip and dropping back down. This can make it a little bit more of a dynamic frog stretch as well. Your inner thighs do way more than you think, from stabilizing your pelvis, protecting your knees, and powering your performance. Your hip adductors, especially for everyday movement, injury prevention. In this video, we break down exactly how they work, why they matter, and how both beginner to advanced exercises and stretches to build strength where it counts. If you want better posture, stronger lifts, and more control in everything you do, this is where it starts. Strength is a way of life. Here at White Line Strong Gym, proudly based in Winnipeg, we're committed to helping you train with purpose. Subscribe for more real-world strength. Hit us down below in the comments with some areas that you want to see improved, exercises you want us to focus on. Thanks for watching.